In this lesson, we're going to take a look at creating views. So if I come over to my project browser, go to the Views drop-down, and there's categories here, and we'll talk later in a different lesson on how to create these categories. Couple things I want to talk about. Notice under floor plan, there's an indentation says floor plan elevation A and B, and elevation B by itself. These are dependent views of this original floor plan. So if I ever make a copy of a floor plan, if I right click and I go to duplicate view, let me move this up a little bit so we can see that better. When I do duplicate view, you have an option to duplicate, which will duplicate the model and leave annotation behind. You have duplicate with detailing, which will copy the model and the annotation. It'll copy that whole view over. And you have duplicate as a dependent. In this project browser, duplicate as a dependent means that all four of these views are exactly the same thing. That allows me to place multiple views on different sheets, because right now in Revit, which makes sense, you can only have one view on each sheet. So because in this model, elevation A and B doesn't change at all, we have a separate dependent view for floor plan elevation A, which can go on the elevation A floor plan sheet. We have an A and B to reduce the number of sheets for the master plan set, and then we have a floor plan elevation B. So the key here is that if I change anything, any annotation, add a dimension, it's automatically going to be reflected in those other views. The one thing that I do want to point out when you do that is sometimes your call outs, if you stretch them or move the detail bubble, you might find that you have to do that in the other dependent views because they will return to their original position that they were placed before the copy was made. Now to create a brand new view in your pull down menu up at the top, well actually your tab menu, if you go to view, you have a create panel. And under this create panel is where you can create 3D views, sections, callouts. You can create another plan view, um, items like that. But if you're going to be working with existing models, a lot of times you are just going to duplicate a view. So if I come down to this 5-piece master bath, and I right click and say duplicate view, I'll do the regular duplicate without detailing, and you'll see the copy that gets made. I don't have any annotation. Okay, we'll go back to that 5-piece master bath. This time we'll duplicate it with detailing. Okay, this creates another view, copies the annotation over. Maybe for some reason you want to make a view that's just labeling cabinets, and you don't want dimensions on it. Well, in this view, if I go ahead and delete dimensions, it's not going to affect my original view that I created. Okay, so if I go back to my original option 5-piece master bath, notice my dimensions are still there. Now, if I right click and say duplicate view as a dependent, notice that I get the indentation. Okay, that means that these really are dependent on each other. So if I take these dimensions and delete them, and I go back to my original view, notice they're gone as here as well. So that's the difference between duplicating a view, duplicating with annotation, and then creating a dependent view.